Today we speak of a man who dares to dream beyond Earth itself. From building electric cars to launching rockets toward Mars, Elon Musk has redefined ambition. He is not just shaping the future of technology, he is challenging humanity to believe that impossible is only temporary.
When I was a kid in South Africa, I spent more time with books than with people. I loved stories about distant worlds, about explorers venturing into the unknown, about inventors who dared to build what no one believed possible. Somewhere deep inside, I knew humanity wasn't meant to stay still. We were meant to reach further, dream bigger, and never accept limits as final. When I came to America, I didn't have much, just a vision. I believed that if you work hard enough and solve problems that matter, you can shape the future. I didn't want to build companies just to make money. I wanted to build companies that would move the needle for humanity. Whether it was PayPal making transactions easier, Tesla accelerating the transition to sustainable energy, or SpaceX making life multiplanetary, the goal has always been bigger than myself. People often ask, why Mars? Why rockets? And I tell them, because Earth is precious. If you truly love Earth, you prepare a backup plan for life. You don't buy insurance because you hate your home, you buy it because you value it. Becoming a multiplanetary species is not just a dream, it's survival. And survival is worth every ounce of effort. I've failed more times than most people have tried. Rockets exploded. Tesla was on the verge of bankruptcy. People call me crazy, reckless, even stupid. But here's the truth. You don't change the world by playing it safe. You change it by taking risks so bold that people laugh at you until they stop laughing because you did it. The future doesn't belong to those who wait for permission. It belongs to those who build it with their own hands. When you see a problem, you fix it. When you see a door closed, you make your own door. And when you hear that's impossible, you take it as an invitation to prove everyone wrong. I don't care about titles. I don't care about being called a CEO or a billionaire. What matters is impact. What matters is building something that lasts beyond one lifetime. When I think about the future, I imagine kids growing up on Mars, people driving cars that don't pollute the air, energy powering our world without burning it down. That's the vision. That's what keeps me going at 3 in the morning when everyone else has given up. When you try to do something truly different, expect resistance. People fear change, not because they hate progress, but because progress feels uncertain. When I started building electric cars, experts said it was impossible to compete with oil. When I started launching rockets, they said private companies had no place in space. Yet here we are, Tesla is proving sustainable energy works, and SpaceX is sending astronauts to orbit. The lesson? Don't let conventional wisdom trap you. Conventional wisdom only tells you what has been done, never what can be done. If you want to innovate, you have to ignore the chorus of doubt and keep listening to that quiet voice in your head that says, what if? Hard work isn't enough by itself. You need purpose. You need to work on things that you truly care about, because that's what gives you energy when everything goes wrong. And everything will go wrong. Failure isn't an option you choose, it's a guarantee on the path to something great. But failure is just data. Every rocket that exploded taught us how to make the next one fly. Every setback at Tesla made us build cars that customers now love. I've never measured success in dollars or awards. I measure it in problems solved. Are we closer to sustainable energy? Are we closer to becoming a multiplanetary species? Are we inspiring more people to believe they can build amazing things? If the answer is yes, then every sleepless night is worth it. People say I work too much. They're right. I do. But when your mission is big enough, it stops feeling like work. It feels like necessity. Imagine if you were building something that could save millions of lives or shape human destiny. Would you take weekends off? I don't think so. The truth is, anyone can do this. You don't have to be a genius. You just have to be insanely curious, brutally honest about your own mistakes, and relentless about fixing them. That's how progress happens, not in giant leaps, but in thousands of small steps forward, made by people who refuse to quit. I've always believed that humans underestimate what they can do in 10 years and overestimate what they can do in 1. Progress feels slow, but that's because real change takes time, and every big dream looks impossible until you're halfway there. When SpaceX started, our first 3 launches failed. We were running out of money, and people said it was over. But on the 4th try, the Falcon 1 reached orbit, and that single success changed everything. That's the thing about persistence. It only works if you stay long enough to see the results. Most people quit just before they're about to succeed. They get tired, they lose hope, or they listen to the critics. But if you truly believe in your mission, you'll push through every failure until there's no doubt left, only proof. Tesla was no different. We faced production hell, mounting debt, and constant skepticism. But we kept building, one car at a time, until people saw that electric vehicles weren't just possible, they were better. They were faster, safer, and cleaner. That didn't happen because I'm special. It happened because a team of people refused to stop trying, even when everything looked hopeless. The future is built by people who are willing to take risks no one else will take. People who aren't afraid of looking foolish for chasing a dream too big to fit inside the present. When I think about Mars, I don't see a red dot in the sky. I see a frontier, a place where the next generation will write new stories, build new cities, and prove that humanity can thrive anywhere. So don't let fear hold you back. Don't wait for permission to start. You don't have to know everything. You just have to know the next step. Once you take that, the path reveals itself. And remember, every breakthrough in history was made by someone who didn't quit when they were told to. People often think innovation comes from having the best resources, the biggest budget, or the smartest team. That's not true. Innovation comes from desperation and courage. When you have no choice but to succeed, you find a way. At SpaceX, we didn't have endless money or government backing at the start. What we had was belief that humanity deserves a future beyond Earth, belief that failure is just a stepping stone. When the world doubts you, let that doubt fuel you. Critics won't build your dreams for you. They'll only remind you why they think it's impossible. But the future doesn't belong to people who explain why things can't be done. It belongs to people who do them anyway. If you're going to dedicate your life to something, make it something worth the pain. You'll sacrifice comfort, sleep, sometimes even relationships. But if your mission can make life better for billions of people, isn't that worth it? When I look at a Tesla on the road, I don't see just a car. I see proof that people chose to believe in a cleaner world. When I see a Falcon rocket land upright after flying through space, I see proof that hard work can bend reality. There's a misconception that you need to be fearless. You don't. I'm afraid all the time. Afraid rockets won't fly. Afraid factories won't meet deadlines. Afraid of letting people down. But courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is acting even when you're terrified. And don't think you have to wait until you're ready. You'll never feel ready. I wasn't ready to start SpaceX. I wasn't ready to take over Tesla. But I knew these things had to exist, and no one else was doing them. Sometimes you have to build the plane while you're flying it. Or in my case, build the rocket while it's on the launch pad. The future will be shaped by people who care enough to try, even when success seems far away. You can be one of those people. Not by being smarter than everyone else, but by being more persistent. By refusing to stop. By deciding, this matters. I will figure it out. When people ask me what keeps me going, it's not the money or the headlines. It's the simple idea that life should be more than just solving problems. It should be about expanding possibilities. Why settle for a world that's good enough when we can build one that's extraordinary? Most people think small because thinking big feels dangerous. If you fail at something small, you're embarrassed. But if you fail at something big, you're crushed. That fear stops people from even trying. But here's the truth. Big dreams aren't harder than small ones. They just scare more people. The effort you spend building a corner shop could also build a global company. The energy it takes to design a single gadget could launch a rocket. So why not aim higher? I've learned that people will call you crazy right until the moment you succeed, and then they'll call you a genius. When I said we'd make electric cars mainstream, they laughed. When I said we'd make rockets reusable, they rolled their eyes. Now those same ideas are shaping industries. Don't do things for applause. Do them because they're right, because they move humanity forward. Sometimes you'll be alone. Leadership is lonely. Innovation is lonely. There were nights when I slept on the factory floor at Tesla, not because it was heroic, but because I didn't have time to go home. I wanted to show the team that I'd go through the fire with them. When you lead by example, people give more than you can imagine. They stop working for you and start working with you. Success isn't magic, it's math. 1,000 small decisions, 1,000 hours of work, and 1,000 failures add up to one breakthrough. You don't have to wait for inspiration. Just start. Fix one problem today, another one tomorrow, and soon you'll realize you're building something no one thought possible. And never underestimate kindness. Yes, we build rockets and cars and tunnels, but we also build trust. Treat people with respect. Listen to your critics, even when they're harsh. You don't have to agree with them, but hidden in their doubt might be clues to make your work better. If there's one lesson I've learned again and again, it's that failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. People often imagine progress as a straight line upward, but in reality, it's a messy path full of wrong turns, dead ends, and moments of doubt. When our rockets exploded, people called them disasters. But inside SpaceX, we call them data. Every failure was a message telling us what to fix, what to improve, what to try next. Without those early explosions, we wouldn't have achieved the later landings. The same was true for Tesla. Production delays, financial crises, even moments when we were weeks away from bankruptcy, those were not signals to stop. They were tests to see how much we really believed in what we were doing. Anyone can stay motivated when things go well. The real question is, will you keep going when everything falls apart? The world doesn't reward effort, it rewards results. But you'll never get those results if you quit too soon. You had to learn to love the process, the endless nights, the problem solving, the grind that no one sees. Progress hides inside that grind. And you don't have to be a billionaire to think this way. You just have to decide that what you're building matters. Whether you're coding in a small apartment, starting a shop in your neighborhood, or inventing something no one has seen before, your persistence can move mountains. I've often said, if something is important enough, you should try even if the odds are against you. Why? Because the alternative is regret? Years from now, you don't want to look back and wonder what would have happened if you just pushed a little harder. Great things are never built in comfort zones. You will be criticized. You will be misunderstood. And that's okay, because being misunderstood means you're doing something new. If people instantly get it, it's probably not revolutionary. People sometimes ask, how do you stay motivated when everything feels impossible? The truth is, I don't always feel motivated. I feel tired, frustrated, even overwhelmed. But motivation is overrated. What matters is commitment. Motivation gets you started. Commitment keeps you going long after motivation disappears. When I was a kid in South Africa, I spent hours reading science fiction. Those stories didn't just entertain me, they gave me a vision of what humanity could become. I wanted to see people on Mars, cities powered by clean energy, and technology that helped rather than harmed. That childhood curiosity is still my driving force. Curiosity is stronger than fear, because fear asks, what if it goes wrong? While curiosity asks, what if it works? Building something meaningful requires obsession. You have to be willing to think about it when everyone else is asleep. You have to turn problems over in your head until the solution appears. And yes, you'll sacrifice balance. People talk about work-life balance, but the truth is, big dreams demand imbalance. There were years when I spent more nights at the Tesla factory than in my own bed. Was it easy? No. Was it worth it? Absolutely. But obsession alone isn't enough. You need courage to take that first step when nothing is certain. Every breakthrough at SpaceX and Tesla came from people who were brave enough to try, even if they looked foolish doing it. And when those risks pay off, it changes everything, not just for you, but for everyone who believed in you along the way. Surround yourself with people who refuse to quit. Teams aren't built from resumes or titles, they're built from shared purpose. I'd rather have a group of passionate problem solvers than a room full of experts who don't care. Skills can be learned. Heart cannot. If your dream feels crazy, good. That means it's big enough to matter. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the perfect time. There's no perfect time. There's only now. Take the leap, build the thing, launch the rocket, and figure the rest out on the way. One of the hardest lessons in my journey is that you can't please everyone. If you're trying to innovate, you will always have critics. Some will tell you you're too ambitious. Others will say you're reckless. And many will simply not understand what you're trying to do. That's okay. When we launched Tesla, almost every expert said electric cars could never compete with gasoline vehicles. They were too slow, too expensive, and no one wanted them. But instead of arguing, we built. We put everything on the line to prove them wrong. Eventually, results silenced the noise. At SpaceX, we were told that private companies could never launch rockets better than governments. We were told it was a billionaire's hobby, a waste of time. Yet today, those same rockets are delivering astronauts to the International Space Station and landing themselves back on Earth. What people call impossible is just something that hasn't been done yet. The bigger your vision, the more resistance you'll face. That's not a sign you're wrong, it's proof you're onto something. History remembers the people who pushed through doubt, not the ones who played it safe. I've learned to use criticism as fuel. Instead of getting angry, I listen. Even harsh feedback has value if you look closely. Sometimes your harshest critic is just pointing out a flaw you need to fix. So I take the useful parts and ignore the rest. Never let fear of judgment stop you from building what matters. At the end of your life, you won't remember who doubted you. You'll remember whether you tried. And the world won't remember the critics either. It will remember the builders. Progress depends on people willing to look foolish today in order to change tomorrow. So take risks. Be willing to be misunderstood. You're not here to blend in. You're here to create something worth noticing. If you really want to do something extraordinary, you have to think in decades, not days. People often overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10. Big visions take time, and that's why patience is as important as ambition. When we started building reusable rockets at SpaceX, it sounded insane to most people. Why not just build a new rocket each time, they asked. But think about airplanes. What if we threw them away after every flight? Air travel would be impossible. We knew the same principle had to apply to spaceflight if humanity was ever going to explore beyond Earth. The first landings didn't work. Rockets crashed. Millions of dollars vanished in seconds. But every failure was a lesson written in fire. We didn't quit because we knew what was at stake. The dream of making space affordable, accessible, and open for future generations. Now those same rockets land softly on ships in the ocean, ready to fly again. Tesla followed the same path. Building a car company from scratch is one of the hardest things you can do. Hundreds have tried, almost all have failed. But we kept going because it wasn't just about cars. It was about a future where clean energy powers everything, from the vehicles we drive to the homes we live in. If you have a mission worth fighting for, it will pull you forward even when things look impossible. You'll find energy you didn't know you had. You'll take risks other people think are crazy. And one day when it works, they'll call you lucky. But luck is just what happens when persistence meets opportunity. So dream big, but more importantly, stick with it. Consistency beats talent. Effort beats fear. The world changes because ordinary people refuse to quit on extraordinary goals. Sometimes people ask me what's the secret to success. Honestly, there is no secret. Just hard work, clear purpose, and refusing to give up when things get hard. Most people stop right before they're about to succeed, because the final stretch is always the toughest. When Tesla was weeks away from running out of money, we had two options: shut everything down or bet everything we had on one last chance. We chose to fight. We worked day and night to fix production problems, redesign components, and deliver cars that would prove electric vehicles could be amazing. That decision kept Tesla alive. At SpaceX, there was a moment after 3 rocket failures when I had to decide whether to keep going. We barely had enough money left for one last launch. If it failed, SpaceX would die. But quitting would have meant giving up on something bigger than myself, the dream of humanity becoming a multi-planetary species. So we launched again. This time, it worked. That success opened doors we never imagined. The lesson? You will always face moments when giving up feels easier than going on. But those moments are tests. They ask how much do you really believe in your vision. If the answer is enough to risk everything, you're on the right path. I don't think of myself as especially talented. I just care deeply about solving problems that matter. Whether it's building rockets, making electric cars, or creating better energy solutions, my approach is simple. Focus on impact, not approval. Don't do things to look impressive. Do things that actually make a difference. The future doesn't belong to those who wait for change. It belongs to those who create it. And anyone can create it, as long as they're willing to put in the work, take the criticism, and never stop learning. Every great innovation feels impossible until it's done. People tend to assume that progress happens automatically, as if the future just arrives on its own. But the truth is, the future is built, piece by piece, by people who refuse to wait for someone else to do it. Look at renewable energy. For decades, experts said it was too expensive, too inefficient, too far away to matter. But we didn't accept that. We built solar technology, improved batteries, and scaled production until clean energy became affordable. The same is true for rockets and electric cars. You don't wait for perfect conditions, you create them. What I've learned is that you don't have to be fearless, you just have to be willing to act in spite of fear. Fear is natural, it tells you something is hard and uncertain. But it doesn't mean you stop. I've been afraid many times, afraid of failure, afraid of letting people down. What kept me going wasn't the absence of fear, but the presence of purpose. If you're clear about why you're doing something, you can survive almost anyhow. And your why can't just be about money or recognition. Those things are temporary. Your mission has to be something you'd pursue even if nobody was watching, even if nobody believed. I didn't start Tesla to become famous. I didn't start SpaceX to impress people. I did it because I couldn't stand the idea of humanity staying stuck on Earth, burning fossil fuels, and missing its potential. That mission mattered more than sleep, comfort, or even personal safety. So ask yourself, what's your mission? What's worth your energy, your time, your entire heart? When you find that, you'll stop worrying about how hard it is. You'll just keep building, one step at a time, until it's real. One thing I've realized is that success is never a straight line. People like to imagine it as a smooth climb. You start at the bottom, work hard, and steadily rise to the top. But in reality, it's a roller coaster. There are drops that make you feel like everything is over, and climbs that seem endless. At Tesla, we had moments when our factory couldn't produce cars fast enough, when customers were frustrated, and investors doubted us. At SpaceX, we had launches that exploded seconds after liftoff, taking years of effort with them. Those were painful days, but pain is information. It tells you what's broken so you can fix it. I've learned to see problems as opportunities in disguise. Every time something failed, it forced us to innovate. When rockets crashed, we developed better engines, safer systems, and smarter designs. When Tesla faced production bottlenecks, we automated processes and built entirely new manufacturing methods. This is why I believe optimism and realism must go hand in hand. You have to believe the future can be better, but you also have to face reality honestly. Blind optimism is dangerous. It makes you ignore real problems. But pessimism is just as bad. It makes you quit before you even start. The best mindset is stubborn optimism. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's risky. But it's worth it. The road to progress is full of setbacks, but every setback is a step forward if you learn from it. You're not defined by how many times you fall, but by how many times you get back up. So don't fear failure. Fear not trying. In the long run, the only true failure is doing nothing at all. When I was a kid in South Africa, I spent hours reading books about space, science fiction, and human potential. I dreamed about a future where humanity lived among the stars, where energy came from the sun, and where technology made life better for everyone. But dreams stay dreams unless someone builds them. The world is full of people who say it can't be done. If I had listened to them, there would be no Tesla, no SpaceX, no reusable rockets landing on ocean platforms. The truth is, most limits are imaginary. People project their own fears and doubts onto you. They tell you what they think is impossible, not what actually is. This is why I've always believed in first principles thinking. Don't base decisions on what other people assume. Break problems down to their fundamental truths, the laws of physics, the basic costs of materials, the core requirements of a system, and build your reasoning up from there. If something is possible according to physics, then it's only a matter of figuring out the engineering. That mindset is what led SpaceX to design rockets differently. Instead of buying overpriced parts, we asked, what are they made of? How much should they really cost? Why can't we make them ourselves? By questioning assumptions, we built rockets for a fraction of the industry price. Innovation is not about being smarter than everyone else. It's about refusing to accept that's just how it's done. If you approach every problem as if you were starting from scratch, you'll see opportunities others miss. So whatever you're working on, don't be afraid to think independently. Don't let conventional wisdom trap you. The world changes when people are bold enough to ask, why not? And brave enough to try. When I first came to America, I didn't have much, just a suitcase, some books, and a belief that the future could be shaped by those who dared to build it. I slept on couches, ate cheap meals, and worked long hours because I knew the journey mattered more than comfort. The early internet days taught me something powerful. Even small teams with big ideas can change the world. My first companies Zip2 and Link2X.com weren't glamorous. We coded through the night, lived in the office and faced endless technical issues. But by solving real problems, we created real value. That's always the key. Focus on what matters, not on looking impressive. This same principle guided Tesla and SpaceX. At Tesla, the goal wasn't just to make a car, it was to prove that sustainable energy could be exciting, practical, and fast. At SpaceX, the goal wasn't just to launch satellites, it was to make space accessible, to give humanity a path to other worlds. What I've realized is that people often underestimate what they can achieve in a decade, but overestimate what they can do in a week. Big goals require patience and relentless effort. You have to be okay with slow progress as long as you're moving forward. Along the way, there will be people who doubt you, criticize you, and even try to stop you. That's okay. Criticism is information, sometimes painful but useful. Listen to it, learn from it, but don't let it define you. If you want to create something truly meaningful, you need courage, not permission. The world won't always understand your vision at first, and that's a good sign. If everyone agrees with you immediately, you're probably not aiming high enough. I often say, if something is important enough, you should try it even if the probable outcome is failure. That's not just a slogan, it's how I live. The things worth doing are rarely the things guaranteed to succeed. When we started SpaceX, many people, including those I respected, told me it was impossible. They said only governments could build rockets. They said private companies had no chance. And honestly, they weren't completely wrong. We did fail. Our first 3 launches all ended in disaster. I had invested almost all my personal wealth, and we were 1 launch away from bankruptcy. But we didn't quit. We stayed up nights, solving every problem we could find. And when our 4th rocket finally reached orbit, it wasn't just a technical success. It was proof that persistence matters more than probability. That one success changed everything. NASA believed in us. Investors came back. SpaceX survived. The same happened at Tesla. We were days away from running out of money in 2008. The financial crisis hit, investors panicked, and it seemed like the company would collapse. But we kept pushing, kept improving the product, and eventually convinced people that electric cars weren't just practical, they were better. What I learned from these moments is simple. Resilience is a superpower. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You don't have to have endless resources. But if you refuse to stop, if you're willing to endure pain and keep moving forward, you'll eventually break through. Life will test you. The world will push back. But progress belongs to those who refuse to give up when it matters most. The thing about big dreams is that they scare most people. They look at the risks and the costs and say no way. But the reality is that risks are part of every worthwhile journey. If you want to make a real impact, you can't avoid risk, you have to manage it. At SpaceX, every launch carried enormous risk. Every rocket that exploded was millions of dollars, years of effort, and reputations lost. And yet, those failures were necessary. They taught us how to make the next rocket better, stronger, more reliable. Failure isn't the opposite of progress, it's part of it. Tesla faced similar challenges. Early electric vehicles were dismissed as impractical or too expensive. We faced production hell, technical setbacks, and endless skepticism. But every problem solved brought us closer to proving that clean energy wasn't just possible, it was desirable. The key is purpose. If your work matters, if your mission is bigger than yourself, you'll find the strength to keep going. You'll endure late nights, endless criticism, and uncertainty, because the cause is bigger than the obstacles. I've never measured success by wealth or fame. I measure it by impact. By the problems solved, by the lives improved, by the doors opened for the next generation. And that is why I keep pushing forward, no matter the setbacks. So dream boldly, act relentlessly, and never let fear define your choices. If you can imagine a better future, then you can build it. When people ask me how to innovate, I always say start with the fundamentals. Break things down to first principles. Don't rely on what everyone knows. Instead ask, what is actually true? What can I build from scratch? At SpaceX, we questioned everything. Why are rockets so expensive? Why are engines so fragile? Why can't we make them reusable? Most engineers said it was impossible. But when you ignore assumptions and focus on fundamentals, the impossible suddenly becomes a series of solvable problems. Tesla was no different. Batteries were too heavy, motors too inefficient, and production costs too high. Instead of accepting limits, we studied the physics, chemistry, and engineering fundamentals. Step by step, problem by problem, we designed a system that made electric cars practical, fast, and desirable. The lesson is clear. Innovation is never about copying others. It's about understanding the essence of a problem and rebuilding it better. If you rely on tradition, you inherit limitations. If you rely on first principles, you create possibilities. And this mindset applies to life beyond engineering. Any challenge you face, personal, professional, or societal, can be solved by breaking it down, questioning assumptions, and working persistently toward a solution. Greatness doesn't come from luck. It comes from curiosity, courage, and the refusal to accept. That's how it's always been. I often think about the future, not just for myself, but for humanity. What kind of world will we leave for our children? Will they have clean energy, access to space, and opportunities to explore the unknown? Or will we stagnate, trapped by fear and inertia? That vision drives every decision I make. Every rocket we build, every car we manufacture, every battery we design, it's about creating a future where humans can thrive. And it's not just about technology, it's about mindset. People need to believe that they can achieve the extraordinary, because once belief is there, effort follows naturally. People ask me how I handle failure. The truth is, failure is constant. There are always setbacks, mistakes, and times when it feels impossible. But you can't let failure define you. You learn, adapt, and keep going. In fact, failure is a gift. It shows you what doesn't work and points you toward what might. One thing I've realized is that the world rewards those who act, not those who plan endlessly. You can have all the ideas in the world, but if you don't execute, they remain dreams. Execution is where most people fail and where progress is born. So be bold. Take risks. Don't wait for permission. The only limits that matter are the ones you accept for yourself. If you truly believe in a better future, you will find a way to build it. When I think about humanity's potential, I often reflect on the concept of survival. Not just individual survival, but species survival. If we want humans to continue thriving, we must become a multi-planetary species. Staying on one planet is risky. Natural disasters, wars, and resource depletion could threaten our future. SpaceX exists because I believe in giving humanity options. Mars isn't just a dream, it's a backup plan, a frontier, and an inspiration. When people see that humanity can expand beyond Earth, it changes what they think is possible on this planet as well. Ambition inspires innovation, and innovation inspires people to tackle even the problems we face here. Every time we launch a rocket, land it back safely, and push the boundaries of what's possible, it sends a message. The future is not predetermined. We can shape it, we can build it, we can explore it. But only if we're willing to take risks, endure failures, and persist relentlessly. Life is short, but the work you do can last centuries. What you build, what you inspire, what you contribute, that's your legacy. Don't waste your time on trivial pursuits. Focus on what matters. Focus on the problems that, if solved, will make the world better for billions of people. Bold goals require bold action. Don't shrink from them. Don't wait for perfect conditions. The time to start is now, because every moment you hesitate is a moment lost in building the future you imagine. As I look ahead, I see a world full of possibilities, a world where clean energy powers every home, electric vehicles glide silently on the roads, and humanity reaches for the stars. But none of this happens by chance. The future belongs to those who act, who persist, who refuse to be bound by what seems possible today. Every obstacle, every failure, every sleepless night is part of the journey. They are the building blocks of progress. They teach resilience, creativity, and patience. If you embrace challenges instead of fearing them, you'll discover strength you didn't know you had. Remember this: greatness isn't reserved for the few. It's available to anyone willing to work relentlessly, think differently, and never give up on what matters. Dream boldly, act courageously, and let your curiosity guide you. The world will doubt you, the path will be hard, and setbacks will test your resolve. But persistence, vision, and purpose will carry you further than you ever imagined. So I urge you, whatever your passion, whatever your mission, whatever problem you choose to solve, commit fully. Ignore the noise, ignore the critics, and keep building. Keep exploring. Keep pushing the limits of what's possible. Because the future isn't written yet. You have the power to create it. And when you do, the world will be a better place for generations to come.